Welcome to DAMA Brisbane's May presentation. I hope you're all well. Just let you know that we will be recording the presentation. So just so that you're aware, if you're asking a question, of course, all questions need to be put in through the chat or through the Q&A function, and you can pop them in throughout the presentation, and we'll go through and make sure that we've answered them all by the end of the presentation. Some of you may not know me. My name's John Stevenson. I'm currently the Brisbane DAMA branch head. I'm also a member of the DAMA Australia Committee. But tonight, we're very fortunate to have Lloyd Robinson from Robinson Ryan, which is a data management consultancy firm. Lloyd is an authority on the practical development of data management implementation, and he's got certifications in business intelligence, as well as a range of other things throughout his career. He's been a lecturer in information systems at university. He has a master's level at the Data Warehouse Institute, and in his commercial life, Lloyd's held roles with direct responsibility of budgets up to £50 million in northern UK, and executed projects across financial services, utilities, education, and government. Lloyd brings over 20 years of experience in strategic architecture and line management, and is also an experienced speaker at international conferences. This evening's session, Lloyd is going to delve into how organisations can become data disciplined. The presentation will cover pulling apart data from data management, from analytics, from business operations, putting together solutions with benefits, bringing tangible business value by employing standard techniques from other disciplines. So with that in mind, I'd like to introduce Lloyd Robinson.
Well, g'day. I've 20 years would make me only 40, and that would be great, but not so. So I wanted to talk about managing data strategically, and I thought I'd start off with, I'm going to talk about it in three parts, but I thought I'd start off with my life in a digital world, because I'm a long-term technical person. I've stopped carrying a wallet because I don't have any cash. I don't have any cards. I don't have a driver's license. I don't have any car keys, no house keys, no camera. It's all on my phone. So I would qualify for digital transformation, but it doesn't, it's sort of, I'm not sure about how well it's going. So because last month was a big month for me. I wanted to change my bank lending. There's some good deals out for fixed lending at the moment. And so I thought I would take a piece of my mortgage and I would repackage it as a fixed loan. I don't want to increase the limit or anything. I just thought I'd repackage it. And my credit card expired. So, you know, like, it's really clever to have everything automatically paying, but then I have to go through every single website and update my credit card details. And then in the middle of the month, some analytics system decided that I was a risk of leaving them. So they rang me up, gave me an account manager and said, "We love you, Lloyd. Would you like a new credit card?" I said, "Oh, sure." And then I had to renew my working with children check. Now, none of that's particularly difficult when you consider how long I've had a relationship with these people. So I've had 37 years with my bank, since I first got my first loan at 21 or 22. I've had 15 years with the utility. I've had 22 years with a credit card provider. I've had 58 years with the government. Like, they should know me pretty well. And so these should all be easy conversations. But I suddenly found I'm in the 300 club. 300 separate data items that I had to type in. I had multiple forms, 4 or 5 pages long, all on the sort of smart form technology, which means you have to try and type it and space it and press tabs. None of them had any filling in at all, so you had to start from scratch. And I counted them up. I sat down at my desk and I went, before I enter these 30 pages of forms, I'll have a look at every page, counted up 290 of these data items the organisations already knew. So they were asking me things that they already knew, often better than me, because I had to look up my account to figure out the answer. 290 of these data items belong to the organisation. Let me have a look at one. So my credit card expired. There are 2 items precisely that have changed, data items. One is the month of the expiry date of the credit card, and one is the year. That is all that's changed. Guess how many items the utility wanted? 30. I logged into my utility website. You can see my company names at the top of the page, Robinson Ryan Proprietary Limited. What's the first question? What's your company name? You try not to laugh, right? Second question, what's the ABN of your company? Well, I have an account with you. I've logged in, and now you're asking me what the ABN of the company is. What's the first name of your business primary administrator? Top left of the screen, guys. Have a look there. What's the surname? How could you possibly be a developer on this project, right? What's the billing address? Well, you send me a bill every month. Like, daytime contact number. It's a phone company, idiots. And what's your email address? Well, I use that to log on in the first place. There are 3 more pages like this. The other thing of great beauty was that when I copied the business name or the company name from the top of the screen and pasted it into the company name, and it couldn't take the full length of the company name, so I had to truncate it. So then they had a different version of my company name inside their company. But that's got to be an aberration. Well, the credit card, remember another scenario, the credit card provider rang me up. Would you like a new business card, Lloyd? I said, yes. Will you be personally liable for the debt? I said, yes. This should be this is a recorded conversation, so I've just formed a binding contract. The credit check is now done. There's no greater financial risk than they had before the call, because they basically just said, we'll give you a second piece of plastic and you're still personally liable for it. So, yeah, so I'm expecting some plastic, but no. What turns up is 5 forms. There's the application form, the account manager authorization form, the direct debit application form, the access company details form, and the second card holder form, because I wanted my wife to have one. Each of them had about 20 data elements on each form, half of which were common with each other: name, address, date of birth, account number, signature. I'm probably saying it a bit fast, but that's because that's the sort of patience that I had when I got all this paperwork. I filled in the forms as best I could. There was also some manual interviews as well. I obviously made a mistake. So a piece of artificial intelligence sends me a 3-page email detailing my mistake and threatening me that it'd call the whole thing off if I did continue to lie to it. Like, it's almost like, here I am, brain the size of a planet, and you made a mistake on your form and I have to now inform you. What are we thinking about the data management here? Well, the data is already in 9 places: my email client, my email server, their email server, the account manager email, but she would have forwarded it on to the assistant email, who then stored it in the document record system. Then there's a voice recording of it as well, which is a binding contract, so needs to be kept. Then there's a data entry app and a data warehouse. So my 5 forms are now spread in 9 locations. I'll do the maths quickly. That's 45 places my data is. By tomorrow afternoon, they rang me up to check some details. Is your date of birth really this date? No, you got it completely wrong. It's this date. Okay, we've got that recorded now. So they've got a second voice recording. Oh, and where do you want us to pay the direct debit out of? Which account? I said, oh, this account. Right, so now they've got a second voice recording, an updated document somewhere. I don't know where it is. It's not the document I sent. I don't know where to put it. And also the credit agency also has my data now. So we now have 12 by 5, 60 copies of the same data. What's the probability they will send me a contract with all the details correct? 0. which is exactly what happened, wasting another hour of my time while I had to explain the error that they made in their contract. What's the probability that they won't breach my details? You probably should fill in the answer, but it's getting rather close to zero as well, because who's going to be able to keep track of 60 copies of the same data forever after? Even if someone hacks into my email server, they'll get it. So you have this sort of like, I have this little value chain from data, information, analysis, and action. And so we enter the same data again and again and again. Why is there 5 forms? Because maybe there's 5 business units in the credit card agency and they can't share data. So they ask the customer, this is the data we need from the customer. They just demand 5 forms. My time is free to them. So therefore they can waste my time and it doesn't really matter. They've done digital transformation, so they win. Every silo has their own names for things. They create their own glossaries. They're all approved by a data steward who are ticking yes to every workflow data element in the new glossary technology. They deployed analytics to detect inconsistency. They were the threatening letters I got when I entered the details incorrectly. Instead of useful customer service, like how much time I spend in filling their forms and how unhappy I am. And clearly the business is disconnected from reality because they think it's all fine. They've got some consultants in who wrote a data strategy and they scored a maturity level of 2.951. The CEO handed out prizes for a good effort. So let's have a look at, if I was a company and I wanted to manage data strategically, how I might write a data strategy. I'm going to use a local government. I just pulled their vision off the web, not terribly complicated. And I thought local government might be a good case study because everyone gets their garbage taken out, don't they? So the city will be a place to work where people choose to live and work and visit and invest. They'll have safe and thriving neighbourhoods with a range of housing, employment and recreational opportunities. We'll engage with our diverse community to help shape the future of the city of choice. That's your vision, is it? So let's figure out what the strategic data is. And so I coloured it in. I took their vision statement. I went, well, there's clearly places. I sort of did those in blue. And neighbourhoods are sort of places as well. And then live, work, visit, invest, housing, employment, recreation. I sort of went there, things that you do, activities. And then there's people, they're in red. And diverse communities, just a bunch of people. And we will engage. So there's things that the city does with the diverse community to create a city of choice. So every data modeler in the room has probably already done the data model that I did. And so I go, well, so in order to deliver our vision, we need to know about people. We need to know what activities they're doing. Are they working, living, playing? We need to know where they're doing it at a place, and a place is at a location. I'm not being that formal with data modeling, so please don't accuse me of non-third normal form stuff. So, oops. So like John lives at house 45 on 99 Short Street, and Abraham owns house 45 on 99 Short Street, and Mary works at office 26 on 1 Long Street. Sue recreates. She does recreation at Park 3 in 9 Lucky Street. So we've taken this and we've sort of mapped people and location and activities. We haven't figured out the engagement part yet. So what's the city doing with engagement? Well, the city's doing engagements with people and activities and places. So the city is sort of it does stuff. What sort of engagements does it do? Well, like it mows Park 3. So it goes out and mows the lawn. It collects the garbage from house 45 And there's a pet fee because whoever lives in house 45 has a pet, and then they make sort of an annual payment to pay up all their debts. Because you wouldn't collect payment by service, you'd just collect it one at a time. And then they also, if someone owns a property, then one of the engagements is rates. So we're going to charge you some rates. And also there's a development application on House 45. So one of the engagements we have is a development, and then there might be payments for that as well. And Mary works at Office 26, so we have garbage and there's some sort of license, local government license, and some payment for that. And Mary's complaining, and we built a footpath in Long Street. So we enhance the environment. And so what are we doing against this little sort of value chain again? Well, we're capturing data once. We orient and organize the data against our vision. So if we were starting to go, well, how are we going to meet our vision? Well, here's the data we need, and then we need to orient it in some way. And then we can send out some smart people who can detect some patterns. So when we build footpaths, we find that more businesses move into the area. If we collect the garbage on time every time, then people mark us as more likely to live here. If we if we give consent for certain activities in certain parts of the city, then people are very unhappy with us. So we start to say, when we do certain engagements, we learn about certain things, and then we act on those patterns. So we rezone or we alter. And so when we're sort of looking at this data strategy thing, we can sort of sit back and go, well, based on our sort of little data model that we did, then I came up with 3 ideas that the data strategy may work into. So first of all, they've said that they're people-centered. That's core to their vision. So we need to know where our people data is. We know we can use that fancy word mastering. So where's the golden record of people? And is it used by everyone? And how many other copies do we have? And how do we stop people from creating new versions of people? And how good is the quality of it? Do we think it's pretty good? Have we done little occasional maybe surveys to bring up people and find out if they still live there or something? Like, I don't know, we can do a whole lot of ways to figure out how good it is. And then minimal collection. Go back to my very first story. Every year we count the number of data items we collect and the number of times that we collect the same data item. And every year we'll reduce duplication. And so we're creating a digital transformation. Actually, it doesn't matter whether it's digital or not. We're creating a data transformation that is actually making the quality of service better. And then the second is like the choice. The choice of city. Our city will be the city of choice. Well, we need to measure that somehow. Maybe when we see activity increasing, the activity we like increasing, or when we do engagements that increase the activity we like and they're successful. So we sort of need to measure our activity and our engagements. We need to maybe benchmark that against other cities and figure out if we can figure out what activities they do and what engagements they do, what are the successful engagements that are improving that, and then what's the influence of the engagement, which ones are good. And the third one was this whole diversity idea, diversity of people. So how diverse are people? So one of the things we need to collect about people is their diversity, but there's also diversity of place. So they talked about places to live and work, and diversity activities. So is there lots of gyms and scout halls and stuff like nice places, parks, etc. So these are the things that I'm trying to, as part of the data strategy, to understand. So we sort of started off with my current digital transformation, which is actually has got a synonym of everybody is outsourcing work to me. and collecting the same data again and again and again using a digital format, assuming it's better. And then how can an organization actually sit down and write a strategy, and they could start from their vision and say, we want to be better at this. So do you have that data? Is it ready to go? Do you know where it's got to be? Are you looking after it? So we start to focus immediately on what's the data that's going to help us achieve our vision. So I did, as John did the introduction, he said, we can do this, we can copy this from other disciplines. We don't have to make it up ourselves. So what if I thought about implementing this and just copy people around me? So I've got this sort of like, I want to capture less data. I want to capture it in a standard interoperable way. I want to find ways to improve my business, and I want to drive a vision. And so I was thinking we could capture data like a manufacturer. So how would a manufacturer approach data capture? And then we're going to manage information like an accountant. How would an accountant manage financial information? And so how can we copy that across? And then we're going to analyze like a startup. So what do startups do? How do they've got to do lots of analysis to figure out what's going on and try and establish their organization. And then we're going to drive a vision like a visionary. Like we're actually going to have a business strategy that drives a data strategy. So let's work through those. We're going to start with like a manufacturer. So a manufacturer understands both quality assurance and quality control. Quality assurance is engineering a process through active design and monitoring inside the process. And quality control is validating the product works. So Toyota manufacture a car, they have lots of quality assurance as they go through each step. How do we know that this step will correctly construct the car? But you know what? They turn the car on at the end and check the wipers and probably the lights. So they also understand that they need to do quality control. So when if we were managing data like a manufacturer, then we would think about, do our business processes deliver quality assurance? Like, do we have the right validation? But are we having a look at the data and just making sure that it's good? We would listen to people like Tom Peters. That's who manufacturers listen to. And they understand that if you want to improve something, you have to simplify it. Almost all. So there was a time when a manufacturer achieved quality improvement by complicating something, but we can barely remember that. Almost all simplification. So one of the interesting questions is, do you collect more data than you did last year to do the same function? If you do collect more data to do the same function, then you're guaranteed to be working in the opposite direction to Tom Peters. You will be reducing your data quality. And then automation. What does automation do? So when a manufacturer looks at automation, it's their last resort. They will only change out a machine on a factory line when they've run out of all other productivity improvements. Because what does automation often do? Well, let's say I have a productivity line like that. So for a certain volume, it's a certain cost. What automation will often do is just shift the line downwards. So instead of doing 1 million widgets for $1, now I can do 10 million widgets for $1. But the trouble is, when I just move the line down, someone just says, I want 10 million widgets. So I'm just as busy and overworked as I ever was. What a manufacturer is trying to do is always they're trying to shift the slope of the line so they can produce more with less. But it's more with less by changing the dynamic of the enterprise, not by just trying to push it down. So if I wanted to capture data like a manufacturer, the data team would work on quality assurance and control, simplifying, changing the slope of the productivity curve, and changing technology only when you run out of options. So, so a manufacturer can't afford to take their factory offline for 2 years while they rebuild systems. What about an accountant? Managing information like an accountant. What does that mean? An accountant controls using a chart of accounts. So they say, you want to put your mobile phone bill somewhere? That account. They don't say, just put it anywhere, I'll find it. No. So what do they use with that chart of accounts? Well, they define financial data from entry to reporting. So when they get a report with and they say that's the mobile phone bill, they know that all the mobile phone costs are in that one account. And it enables integration and comparison. So you can, if the same transactions are in the account every month, they can say, well, our mobile phone bills are going up or going down or going round. They control the location of financial records. So if you said to a CFO, I've decided to set up a new accounting system just for my little department, they would say no. So they know that they don't want financial records in multiple places. There's only a few systems, only in systems with controls. So if you do say, well, I want my own little accounting system, they'll say, well, what are the controls and how do we build that? And it's very difficult to get permission even after you've done all of that, because they know that they're not going to have the data all over the place, the financial data. And then the third thing that accountants do is they rarely budget from the bottom up. Everyone does this once. I can remember budgeting a $50 million project from the bottom up. So we asked all the team leaders, how much money do you need? And within a month, we had an estimation of $500 million. And it took me 6 months to get it back to 50 million. And I had to stop, I had to reset expectations. I said, no, you're all not getting $100 million. You never forget the time that you did something bottom up. Every accountant makes that mistake once in their lives and they never do it again. Right? So you never mix up an accountant with a fairy handing out 3 wishes. What would you like today? Well, I'd like to put my financial data wherever I want. So to manage information like an accountant, our data team would work on one glossary, like a chart of accounts. This is what we're calling customers around here. Customers, clients, parties. Don't care what the word is, but there's only going to be one. You can't put that data anywhere that you want. There's going to be a few authorized locations. And we're going to work top down. We're not interested in what data you think you need. We're going to be interested in what data drives the vision of this enterprise, just the same as an accountant would. Like a startup. Well, what do startups do? Well, most startups have a good idea. That's what makes them a startup. Like Archimedes, that guy. And then the conversion to operations is the only problem they have. So I can do one widget, but now I've got to do 1 million of them. So I need to figure out how to do that multiple times. So I've got this sort of innovation cycle that I made up. So the top right, innovation, what's imaginable, what's our vision, and then our alpha and beta product, what's possible, linking up experience, and then product delivery, what's trusted. So that's when I start to get in to actually building the product to the same level of quality again and again and again, so that I can trust it. If I was going to take this into a data context, I would say data science imagines stuff. What patterns can you see if you just sort of worked away at the data a bit? What could you imagine? What's our vision? What questions are we trying to answer? And then that goes into business intelligence. What is possible? Linking questions to data. So I could build my dashboards and stuff. But the data's sort of not going to be terribly good. So then I have to actually engineer the data delivery underneath into the dashboards. So, but I don't want to do heavy engineering on my data until I'm pretty sure I know what I want. So data delivery comes after the sort of the prototyping or the development of my presentation layers. So to analyze information like a startup, provide space for exploration and data science. Then you take some of this work, only some of it, and you move it into business intelligence. So you go, actually, I'd really like that dashboard all the time, not just one off. And then you take some of that into reliable data delivery. So then you say, you know what, we need to work through all the quality, all the lineage, make sure that that all works. So I'm going to focus on the data that's really important, that I know people want. So lastly, like a startup or like a visionary. So I'm going to start to act on my data patterns. So a visionary doesn't say, someone make me a set of glasses. They say, make a machine that takes me to the moon, right? Virtual reality is not, no one's going to wear those style thing. Someone said, oh, let's make something exciting. Visionary doesn't say, we have to bill the person separately for every service that they get because the IT system works that way. Yeah. And the clients, we don't care. They say, we want to invoice everything once per year and make it easy to pay in installments using direct debit. I suppose it's sort of like a local city idea, but it's the same idea. We want to bend our IT tools to our will, not the other way around. A visionary doesn't say, let's invest in data analytics. A visionary say, let's invest in social and economic health and democratization of data for the benefit in everyone of the city. It's like, do you have a business vision for your data and analytics, or is it just data analytics? Otherwise, it's like, I don't know what I'm going to use it for, but if I have it, maybe I'll find a use. And so we want visionaries to drive data strategies from the business. And so that's my little picture there. Collect data like a manufacturer, manage data like an accountant, information like an accountant, do analysis like a startup, and put all that into action like a visionary. And if I do all of that, I might drop out of the 300 club. Questions? How does the questions things work, John?
I'm still here. So if people have questions, they can pop them in the Q&A box or into the chat. We've got one. Mark said, very entertaining talk. Fantastic. Yes. So I found that an exceptionally entertaining talk. I learned that visionaries, when they put on virtual reality, actually want to go to the moon, which is interesting. But the other things that were of interest, if you want to manage data like an accountant, you need to set up a chart of accounts, your glossary, and if you're going to do it, you need to do it top down. Doing it bottom up creates all sorts of problems.
Yes.
And you want to manage data like a manufacturer. You want to actually change the slope of the line. So I thought that was quite interesting. And then also as a startup, what can I imagine? What's possible? And then what's trusted and reliable? I think they're all very good points. So thank you very much for a very entertaining talk. We've got some more questions coming through here. First one from Marcelo. Oh, no, it's gone. Are you answering those?
Oh, yeah. Am I not supposed to do that?
No, we tend to sort of read them out and then you can answer them to the whole group.
Oh, okay.
So Marcelo's is gone.
No, Marcelo's in the answered list.
Yeah, Marcelo, how to convince people to leave their precious spreadsheets and have a single source of truth?
So they won't leave their precious spreadsheets until something better comes along. And something better comes along has to meet the 4 criteria of manufacturing, accounting, startups. And then after you've delivered a better solution, then you have to wait for trust to grow. So you have to, I've been in multiple places where they've built brand new warehouses, all the latest tech, and nobody uses it. Like the usage is zero because they haven't worked on the trust and the people angle. And so a simpler, better solution, and then figure out how to get people to trust it. Great. The problem's not technology, it's usually people. What are some of the key challenges you have to go through while trying to shift the mindset? The dominant mindset that I have to teach people, David, is it's not about technology. And I think that's a deeply human thing. I started the talk with, you know, I'm a gadget guy, right? I got rid of my wallet. I have my driver's license on my phone. I have my car key on the phone. I have my office is sort of this keyless entry thing. So I love tech, but the problem is that a lot of people then think the tech is the answer. And I think I can already detect in the digital transformation that my suppliers are doing, my banks and my financial services, my utilities and technology, telecom firms. My suppliers are already interpreting digital transformation as offload as much work as you can on the Lloyd. We don't care how often he has to type the same data. And they're all got digital data consultancies inside telling them how good they are. So you can actually see the underlying competitive strategic thinking, which is offloading work, hidden by the technology. Because people go, oh, but it's a new portal, it must be good. So yeah, that's number one, is it's not about technology. And that's, sometimes you have to wait for someone to realize that, and then you can poke in. Other things is, the second most difficult thing is getting people to agree to a glossary. So this idea of requirements, I require to call customers clients. That's my requirement. Well, now we all need to call them customers around here. You can't call them clients. It can't be different. Well, that's not my requirement. So this idea that everyone can set, you know, it's an accountant asking everybody, where do you think we should put the mobile phone bill? Right? We do a lot of that. A lot of data analytics projects go and get requirements, as if getting requirements allows everybody permission to make up whatever they want. So how do we get to the point where a business strategy comes top down? The data strategy needs to be executed top down as well. That's two ideas for David. Mark, any tips in persuading execs not to ask for a set of glasses? Okay, so it goes back to sort of number one. A lot of execs actually think that it's in the tech. They've been convinced by CIOs for 20 years that it's in the tech. Don't worry about data, it's just in the tech. One of the useful ways is don't use the word data, use the word information, because data often invokes the concept of database. And so we start saying, so we've got this vision here. Do we have the information that we need to meet this vision? And could I go and get all the nouns in that vision? Could I just go get it, the data right now? Can I see all the people that you've talked about in that vision? Can I get all the engagements that you're talking about in that vision? Can I get all the activity you're talking about? Can I get all that? Oh, no, we don't have half of that. But our requirements is, often people will start bottom up and they'll go, but I'm the manager of the call center, so I need blah. So it's about, execs need to sort of start to think, to start to drive a data conversation. And that data conversation, one of the things I often talk about, data people are the Marie Kondo of enterprise architecture. So technology people always want one more application, and process people always want one more process, but data architects and data modelers and data governance people want a smaller glossary. If your glossary is bigger than 100 items, 200, 3 items, then you're lost control. I've got people that have 10,000 items in their glossary. It's no longer doing anything other than allowing everybody to write whatever word they want. And a lot of workflowing of this propagates the number of terms. So you start off by writing a glossary and you end up exactly the opposite. So execs need to start thinking about data as a top-down problem. They need to start saying, this is the data and I want it now. And then that would start to drive the operations people and the data warehousing people and the intelligence people and the data science people to start actually producing the data that they need. Fantastic talk. Pick up your last point. How do we solve the tension between open data and competitive advantage? So capitalism works so what you do is you want to make money, and there's two ways to make money. You can add value to the economy, or you can remove your competition. And so what you see is this cycle of merging and acquisition, and then the government eventually picks them up and splits them into little pieces, right? So what we're seeing in the open data is that classic splitting them into pieces. So what's happened is companies are able to create effectively change costs that stops the market from operating. And the government then knows, in order to maintain an active market, I need to create something that reduces the cost of churn or the cost of change. In electricity, they created the national market in the way that you can change easily. In banking, they're trying to create this open data to allow you to change easily. So what enterprises then have to do is they have to pick themselves up and go, oh, we can't earn money just by making it difficult to change anymore. Now we have to actually be useful in the economy, simple economics. And so how do I resolve the tension between open data and competitive advantage? Usually companies start to create monopoly-like behaviours, and they get forced back into competitive advantage. If you look at the 10 biggest companies in the world a decade ago and the 10 biggest companies now, they change because what happens is they get too big and they stop dreaming up the next piece of competitive advantage. They just sit on their laurels. So I think if you think that open data is destroying competitive advantage, you're probably sitting on your laurels. Does that make sense? I just sort of made that up a bit, but.
Makes sense to me. Was good.
Ian, that was. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. If anyone else has got questions, it was a very entertaining talk. We've got a couple of comments in the chat. I think Oliver is saying that he lives in the city of Stirling, and judging by how they collect my bins, I don't think that they have a good data strategy.
That's right. That's one of the ways of looking at it when I was, I've done it for a number of industries in the last month or two, sort of a bunch of my clients and things like that. But they write these visions, and then they write a data strategy that says, we're going to implement data governance, and we're going to implement data modeling, and we're going to implement data security. And you go, seriously, is that a data strategy? What about this vision thing? You've got nouns in the vision. Those nouns should be data. Why aren't you trying to figure out how to meet your vision with your data strategy? And these things are completely separate. So people will collect bins and do things from the bottom up, and they'll have this vision and they'll never meet the vision because they haven't got the data to support it. I'm speaking to a DAMA audience, so of course I'm going to say yes, but it feels to me often that data is the first thing you need. You write a vision and then you sit down, you pick out the nouns and you go, that's the data I need.
And that's the challenge, finding or getting agreement, isn't it? Getting agreement on what the data is that you need. That's quite often quite a big challenge in the data world.
I've got a little, someone talked about artificial stupidity. Have you got time for me to show a little video?
Very quickly.
Yeah. I own a Tesla, right? I did tell you I'm a gadget man. And the other day I was in the Tesla and it's trying to figure out all the objects around. And I'm just looking if I can't find it. I haven't got this very well catalogued. It must be here somewhere. Ah, here it is. Here it is. Right. I'll just share the screen again. Artificial stupidity. So, my Tesla was, here it goes. My Tesla is sitting there. Can you see the picture?
Yep.
Okay. So you can see my car. I'm parked behind this van thing, and there are people passing me on the right, and it's figured out there's a person on the footpath, but it's not really sure. And so it was really solid for about 2 or 3 minutes before I got my phone out, and then it started to get unsure. And so it's going.
Here's my smart
it,
card. You can see a person just there, but it's not quite sure, so it keeps coming and going. In actual fact, what's there is a telephone box.
it's pretty funny, I reckon. It's got a head on it, right? And it's going, it's a bit tall for a person, but it might be a person. It hasn't moved very much, so maybe it is a person. It's doing that at a billion times a second. Meanwhile, my granddaughter of 22 months is sitting in the back seat going, I have never mixed up a phone box with a person in my life. I'm done.
Well, thank you very much, Lloyd. We really appreciate you taking the time out to speak to us all this evening. And I'm sure everyone got a great deal out of that, because I certainly did. There's another comment. Yep, thanks, Lloyd. People saying thank you through the question and answer. That's great. Okay, mate. Well, thank you very much. No doubt we'll be talking again soon. So thanks everyone for attending. Stay tuned. We'll have more great presentations coming up in the coming months. Thanks very much.